California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association. Hello everybody, I'm Huell, and here we are in our state's capital, Sacramento. Now we're standing in front of one of the most beautiful and important buildings in Sacramento. Built in 1929, it's called the Library and Courts Building. And among other things, this building is the headquarters for our California State Library, which just happens to be one of the best libraries in the entire country. And because our state library is so good and has expanded so much, there is a new additional state library building. It's called Library and Courts II building. It's been built right here behind the original building. It's new and modern and very beautiful in its own way, and we have been invited to spend the day here by Gary Kurtz. Gary, what is your exact official library title?
Huell, I'm Curator of Special Collections, which means the California History section and the rare books of the California State Library.
Rare books?
Right. I'm in charge of the great treasures, the great literary heritage of this state.
Treasures, that's what got us here, because you know our program is called California's Gold, and I have a feeling that there are lots of examples of California's gold inside that building.
Absolutely. The early founders of the State Library, this is our 150th anniversary, and one of their goals was to bring the gold of the mine to California. And they did that by donating some incredible materials to us, and we've expanded ever since then. We've been collecting California history, our state's heritage, for 15 decades now.
So the gold rush brought gold mining to California. The California State Library continues to bring gold minding, M-I-N-D-I-N-G, to California.
Absolutely. One of our jobs is to help state government and its information needs, but also anybody interested in our glorious state's history will come here and find all kinds of wonderful materials that you don't always get to see.
All right, you know we're interested in state history, and I know this guy is, and he knows where all the bodies are buried, so to speak. All the good bodies are buried in there.
They're still living treasures.
All right, let's go
Okay,
inside.
absolutely.
We're going to spend the whole day here looking for California's gold. Let's jaywalk right across the street here in Sacramento and go inside the new library building. Okay, we have come inside to the... Is this the California collection, Gary?
Right, Huell, this is our preservation collection for the California history section. And what we try to do is buy 2 copies of all nonfiction books on California history, but these are books in this room that we want to preserve for all time.
So all of these books are about California?
They're all about California, from the most prosaic history up into the most intellectual things, like books by Kevin Starr, but we'll have Palm Springs Life, Lowrider News, just a whole panoply of California history.
And you have how many volumes here?
We have about 80,000 volumes
as
here,
compared,
all devoted to California history.
As compared to how many in the whole state
this
library?
State library, we have about 800,000 volumes, but we have well over in the millions and millions of documents here.
Really?
Single pieces, manuscripts, government reports, maps, posters, bumper stickers, menus, all kinds of different things. Just
and pictures.
Right, and pictures. We have a
look
wonderful
at this,
picture collection of California history. And this is one of the earliest known views we have of California during the height of the gold rush. What's important about this is the first photographic representation of the Chinese in the gold rush. This was made by an itinerant Boston photographer by the name of Joseph Blaney Starkweather, came to the Auburn Ravine area. And this beautifully shows the convergence of, as Jim Holiday said, the world rushed into California. And here we have the world rushing in. We have the Chinese that came in great numbers in 1852, and we have unknown Caucasians here that could have been from Australia, could have been from Germany, England, North Carolina, Tennessee even.
What an amazing photograph.
We have the original daguerreotype from which this reproduction
was made in
1852.
Wow.
Yeah, just The California Gold Rush was the first great event in U.S. history documented by photography.
So you have a whole collection of
these early Daguerrean images, and they are single images. There's before the invention of the positive-negative process, too. So they're one of a kind. They cannot be duplicated by themselves.
All right, now this is interesting out here, but the real treasure.
This is our Holy of Holies in here, where we keep the rarest and most important volumes and documents.
Come on, let's get in.
Let's get in. And
I've got my white gloves on.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg, though.
Here we go into the Holy of Holies. Now this is
our vault, and one of my favorite pieces of California history is this lovely map over here that shows the insular California. For a long time, cartographers believed that California was an island.
So this was done when?
This was done in 1666 by Peter Kues, a very important Dutch cartographer, and it's a beautiful copy of it, beautifully hand-colored.
California as an island.
Right, and some navigators boasted that they could circumnavigate the island of California, and I think a lot of that stems from that, you know that book so well, the Terrestrial Paradise, where they had the Amazon Queen Calafia that lived in a beautiful island next to the Terrestrial Paradise. So I think that's where that whole concept of the insularity of California came from.
Wow. We've got so much in here. Wait a minute, I'm looking over here. What is this thing right here?
Okay, this is
we got a bear on the end of it.
Bear, of course, very symbolic of California, and we have wonderful collection of.
Can we pick this up?
Yeah, this is very fragile. It's a recent acquisition, so it has to go off for conservation, as you can well see. But we have a fabulous collection of documents and memorabilia from some of the fraternal organizations, patriotic societies associated with California, like the Masons, but this is the Native Sons of the Golden West.
And Native Sons of the Golden West.
And what this shows here is Sutter's Mill, and at the showing the mill at the time of the gold discovery.
So now what will you do with this? You're going to restore it?
We will contract with a conservator who is skilled in paintings and works on paper, and because this is an important item here.
And what will happen with this?
And then we will probably put it in, because it's so big and it has such wonderful artifactual value, we'll probably put it in a big plexiglass frame
where people can see it.
Enjoy it.
All right, let's dig in.
Let's dig in.
I don't know where to start. I'm sure you've got
Well, one of the exciting things, too, Huell, about my job, if we can open this drawer here, is that almost every day something fabulous comes into the collection. You just never know when you start your day off what will happen. And we recently received this lovely Gold Rush letter. And this is from a man by the name of Henry Sterling Bloom, writing to his wife back east from Downeyville, up in the northern mines. And his wife thoughtfully sent him some locks of his children's hair. And he's writing in this letter saying, "Thank you so much for those locks of hair. It just makes my heart break to think about my family back home." And said, "I send you my blessings and all my love." And this is just so beautifully done for his 3 children.
So this is an example of the loneliness that the miners felt when they came out here.
They felt terribly lonely. They're isolated from their families. They're thousands of miles away from home. And of course, this is before you could get your cell phone out, that sort of thing. But people were, what I love about this time period, people were such great letter writers, and they were so descriptive, and they had such wonderful command of the language.
Now, did the family just call you up and donate this?
Right. Actually, one of our researchers came in, and who's a very faithful researcher, and she said, "I think you would like to have this for the collection."
What else do we open up here?
Okay. Well, one of the amazing things too about a library like this is that we are always collecting documentation on California that's beyond just the books.
This is a menu.
This is a menu, and California from the very beginnings of time had a real sense of its culinary importance. And this was particularly in the gold rush time period, exotic foods from around the world came into San Francisco and Sacramento, up in Marysville, in great profusion.
So this shows the kinds of food. And they had exotic foods.
Exotic foods, again, from around the world, beautifully printing daily menus here.
Where did they get this food?
They brought it from everywhere, and particularly
from
Hawaii, from Australia, from across the Orient. And so they had many commemorative banquets, and they would, to make an extra special keepsake, they would often print these on silk.
Boy, you've got a whole menu collection
right. Oh,
here.
we have thousands of menus here, and I wanted to show you this one too. This is from even the steamships that came to California. This came from Panama up to San Francisco. I wanted to show this to you because
this
steamship
has what?
Tennessee.
What are they eating here? Veal?
Veal. They have beef,
steamed lobster,
cold
beef.
Right, yeah.
Beef and pork,
yeah,
potatoes, rice, beets, onions.
Right, so that's a pretty well balanced meal for that time period.
Salmon,
right, and
lots of salmon.
Right, this steamship itself, though, went aground off of San Francisco Bay in 1853. So it. I
don't know what else to look for
we have,
here.
All kinds of. Then we have a wonderful collection of pennants from around the state, not only from our great educational institutions, but from events like the California State Fair. I think this is my favorite here from the aviation meet down at Dominguez Hills, the first aviation meet held in the United States in 1910.
Now these are just kind of fun California.
Right, absolutely. California.
Look at this one. San Francisco La Fiesta de Portola.
Right. And that was a fiesta that started after the earthquake and fire to signify San Francisco's resurgence.
Oroville Dam.
Right. So that's,
now, what's the significance of keeping old pennants?
I think it shows the interest in tourism. State Fair, of course, I was always proud of promoting itself, and pennants, of course, is one of the great ways of doing that. And plus, some of them actually have, I think, very nice sense of design.
Boy, I'm just throwing these things around. I don't think I should be doing that. They're probably...
they're pretty sturdy, but we only let special people like yourself handle them. So it.
All right, now what else have we got?
Okay, well here I wanted to show you one of these original daguerreotypes too. This is again by
daguerreotype.
Daguerreotype, named for Jean-Jacques Daguerre, the French inventor who invented this process in 1839. And again, here we have the same photographer up in the Spanish flat area near Auburn.
And this shows again the
African American, right? Exactly, working side by side with. Anglo person, so it.
Now this looks like it was posed.
Right.
I mean, they had to be very still when they
absolutely.
Took these
they had to have very long time exposures. They did not have rapid film at that time period.
So would they have just been standing there?
Standing there for 2.5 to 5 minutes. And there's always a trick. You could see where the horse's head is blurred because you cannot get a horse to stand still for that long a time period. So. And here we have our great founder of Sacramento, if you will, Captain Sutter. This is the earliest known photograph of the old boy, and of course, it's Sutter's Fort. And he's one of those sad situations. He had his great empire here in the Central Valley, New Helvetia, and he was his lands were completely overrun during the gold rush. The squatters came in, and they just took over everything that he had built up.
He lost it all.
He lost it all.
Now, what's this over in the corner?
Okay, this is one of
I have a feeling that's
great
important.
treasures, I think, of the State Library, and this is James Wilson Marshall's own map and drawing of where he discovered gold. And you can see this little cartoon that he drew. He was not, as you can see, a skilled artist, but again, it's by the discoverer himself, and he says right here, "I have found it."
So James Marshall himself
right.
drew this little. Why did he draw this?
I think somebody asked him to describe the gold discovery. This is probably done about 1850, and it says situation of all hands at the time at the mill at the time I brought out the gold and showed it. And again, he was not a terribly literate
And what's
person.
this?
And this is his map of the Coloma Valley, showing where the gold discovery took place, right in this general area where the mill was, that sort of thing.
Now,
again,
where has this been over the years?
This was found in his cabin up in Kelsey, and after he died, there was an estate sale, and a man purchased this and donated it to the State Library in the 1920s.
I bet. Now, there's no way you can put a price tag on a drawing by James Marshall about the moment he found gold.
Single most important event in California history.
So how would you, I hate to be monetary here, but how would you even insure something like that?
Well, you really can't. And, you know, we have loaned it to some museums, that sort of thing, but you just can't put a price on something like this. And who knows if it's up for sale at eBay or something like that, what it would bring, or Sotheby's. So, but it's one of the great...
Be careful, don't break anything.
Right.
Now look back in here. You've got, now we're beginning to see, you know, rows and rows of books. What have we got back
what
here?
we have here, of course, are the city directories that go all the way back to 1850 in San Francisco, 1851 in Sacramento. And these are used all the time for people researching individuals, businesses. But one of the, I think, wonderful aspects of a collection like this is that books have more than one purpose. And of course, this is the Holy Bible here. It has a beautiful original binding, and this was printed in Paris in 1501.
Wait a minute.
Which is pretty darn old.
This was printed in 1501?
1501, right. And the reason why it's important for us, it was used in 1871 for the inauguration of Governor Newton Booth. And he used this as his swearing in, and it's been used in other years by other governors and state officials.
Here's George Deukmejian. Here's Gray Davis,
right? He was the
our
very
last
one,
governor,
right,
who signed it January the 8th, 1999. So this
and
is...
the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Ronald George, also signed it.
So this Bible has been used for swearing in
that's right,
of various California governors.
Governors, state officials, state librarians, superintendents of public instruction have used this.
I'm getting nervous holding a
so
Bible
this is
that's 500 years old. You better take it back.
Wonderful book as an artifact.
And you just keep that up on a shelf with every...
Well, this is in a high secure area with excellent humidity temperature control. So
wow.
And we keep it dark most of the time. So only, again, do we allow, you know, a researcher, though, if they really wanted to look at this, we'd certainly bring it out. And they can use it in our rare materials reading room. So we literally lock you into the room, and then you have to request to get out. So but anyhow, let me show you another a book that is a wonderful artifactual value, and it's kind of an ugly duckling when you first look at it, but this was a geography book, a book of the heavens, that was brought across the continent by John Bidwell, the wonderful great prince of the pioneers, as he was later called. And the story goes, according to an early biographer of his, that he could not find a sextant to lead the first overland immigration train, so he bought this book and used it to help guide the Bidwell-Bartleson overland immigration train to California in 1841. And it's signed by him right here, and this is where you can see.
1841, starting in Platte County, Missouri, brought in across the plains by John Bidwell. Oh, this is the book you were telling me about. That's the first.
This is the
first book brought into California.
Overland from the eastern United States. So,
so that's the significance of this. The first book brought into California.
Absolutely.
Overland.
Overland, right. You might not think of a book like this as important, but it has a wonderful story associated with this.
So this was kind of brought in on a saddlebag.
Right. And but he used it to help guide them over the plains, over the Rockies, over the Sierra, and being able to study the stars. So it just is a wonderful biblio treasure, I think. Huell, I want to show you something really fascinating about California, and that's the development of a medium called the pictorial letter sheet.
The pictorial letter sheet.
And these are early Gold Rush stationery designed. They're kind of the precursor of the modern postcard. And they carried a California scene, and the idea was that you'd write a letter on the backside, and it would be sent home, so your relatives back east or in London, what have you, get an idea of what California looked like.
This was from Timbuktu in Yuba County.
Right, up on the Yuba River there in the northern mines, and there had all kinds of wild events going on in California in the 1850s.
Wait a minute, this is a lynching.
Tremendous excitement, yes. This was the one of the vigilance committees where the law and order was getting out of control, so people voluntarily took control, and they, after a very short due process, would...
So wait a minute, they would make a postcard
right,
of this
this was a big deal. This is a big event, and thousands of people joined. We even have one where the Vigilance Committee said we can outnumber the governor in the number of
But
troops.
I mean, people would send letters back on the back of a drawing of people being hung.
Absolutely. This is showed what was going on in California.
Okay, here's an example of a letter actually written on the bottom of this stationery that showed the gold rush country.
Yeah,
in
this showed actually Coloma, the discovery place, and view of Coloma where the gold was first discovered. This is written by Jared Brown to his father, and Jared made a tremendous living as a blacksmith. And he said that his best day of the week was Sunday because that's when people gambled and they raced their horses, and they would be shoeing the horses. So
boy, this is amazing, and this whole thing shows the concept of writing postcards on letters that had these drawings, these pictorial drawings. They were called what?
Letter sheets, pictorial letter sheets.
Pictorial letter sheets.
And they're done either as wood engravings or lithographs, and they present some of the best visual documentation we have on California. And going down through here, we have a wonderful collection of bound volumes, but it also includes diaries. These are the diaries of John Bidwell from Chico. But we also have some other fascinating documents, too. For example, this was donated to us in the 1980s, and it's a fascinating diary or logbook of a ship captain by the name of Josiah Mitchell. And he captained a vessel called the Hornet. In 1866, the Hornet burnt down at sea, and he and his men got into some longboats and drifted in the Pacific Ocean for 43 days, 8 hours. And in one of his diary entries, he says, "I think the crew is going to murder me today," because he had to ration the food, the water, rainwater, they had to catch fish. And they finally drifted and made it all the way to the Hawaiian Islands, and just happened to be a young reporter from the Sacramento Union by the name of Samuel Clemens, better known today as Mark Twain. And he wrote up a story about this incredible voyage of survival and sent it to the Union, and he said this was his debut as a literary agent. So this document,
so Samuel Clemens' first article was based upon this
incredible story, the survival at sea. And this actually exceeded the longboat voyage of Lieutenant Bligh of the HMS Bounty. So it's an incredible tale of survival at sea. Huell, this is the very first newspaper published in California. When you think of the thousands and thousands of newspapers that have been published in the Golden State, this is the very first one. It was published in Monterey, August 15th, 1846.
This is amazing.
It was just astonishing. And the state appropriated about $2,000 in 1862 to actually buy pioneer newspapers of California. This one was published by Walter Colson, who was a very important pioneer in the Monterey area, Colton Hall, where the Constitutional Convention was held.
This is amazing that this is this old.
Right, and it was printed in both English and Spanish because of the mixed population.
But look, every page has this big, ugly purple stamp
back in the 19th
California
century.
State Library.
Right, back in the 19th century, we made sure that everyone knew who owned this particular paper. This is
you don't do that anymore.
We don't do that anymore. No. But certainly no one will want to steal it because it's so well stamped by the library staff back in the 19th century. Bless their souls.
Boy, this is amazing. You got all those early papers from the California.
But this is very important, too, because of the Mexican War. This was published right after the American takeover, but also has the account of the Donner Party that appeared in the newspapers in this very one. But this is the very first newspaper. When you think of the LA Times, San Francisco Chronicle, San Diego Union Tribune, this is the mother of all newspapers of California.
The Californian from Monterey.
The Californian.
Okay, Gary, we have left the Holy of Holies.
That's right.
Now where are we?
This is the California History Room of the State Library, and this is where all the researchers come who want to know information on California history.
So this is the practical side of what we've just seen.
Right, and we have one of the great reference librarians in California, Sybil Zamitas, who is an incredible reservoir of information, is extraordinarily helpful.
I've actually come by to visit her to get help on programs that we've done.
She will go the extra mile for you. She's just an incredible resource.
So what people come here to write papers?
They come. We have professors here. We have one from Marquette University here. We have people doing their family history, preservationists, journalists, anybody that needs information about California. We have a lot of publishers that come here wanting to illustrate materials. People doing legislative intent want to know the history of bills and laws in California. They all come here. If you're going to do serious research on California history, you must come to this room sooner or later.
Well, thank you again for letting us have a glimpse at some of these rare, rare treasures. The California State Library has been here for...
Since 1850.
Since the very beginning of statehood.
Absolutely. That's one of the most positive things state government does, is the state library.
And so you're still going strong.
We're still going strong.
Still acquiring material.
15 decades worth of acquiring material. And every day we're adding new treasures into the collection.
And they are treasures. They're all wonderful examples of California's gold. I just looked down. I was about to walk off with the gloves. You can have those.
Oh, you can have those as a keepsake of your visit here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Huell.
Our California State Library here in Sacramento, very much a part of California's gold. Well, hello everybody. I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed this adventure. If you'd like to see it again or share it with your family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library, it's available on video cassette and on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.